All right, so today we're diving into a case that's, well, it's truly bizarre. I mean, we're heading to a small village in Fukushima, Japan back in 1989.
Oh, yeah, this one's a classic.
Yeah, and the mystery is a young man found dead inside a septic tank.
A septic tank.
Yeah,
Wow.
and the official story is he was a peeping Tom who got stuck and froze.
Oh, come on.
I know, right? But something about this whole thing just stinks.
It really does. It's one of those cases that, makes you think that the authorities just wanted to close it as quickly as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Logic be damned.
for sure.
I mean, we're talking about a septic tank that was connected to a school teacher's private toilet.
We had a private toilet.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second right there. That detail alone deserves a raised eyebrow or two, couldn't you say?
Absolutely. Because even if we just, entertain this peeping Tom theory for a moment,
Right.
the logistics just don't add up. I mean, this wasn't some wide open, cesspool or something like that.
Right.
We're talking narrow pipes here, barely wider than, well, you get the picture.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to test out that theory myself.
No.
Yeah.
And our victim, let's just call him S.
Yeah.
S was a well-respected, athletic 26-year-old guy.
Right.
Not exactly someone who you would think would be spending his free time squeezing into tight spaces for a glimpse of anything, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, are we saying that the official story is a little bit creative?
Let's just say there are more holes in this narrative than in a block of Swiss cheese.
Okay, I like that.
For starters, the teacher, right, the one whose toilet was connected to this septic tank,
Right.
she was out of town until after S was already dead.
Oh, wow.
So what was he supposedly peeping on? An empty toilet.
All right, well, that officially pushes this story from bizarre to suspiciously convenient territory.
Oh, yeah, and it gets even better.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. S was last seen by his father on the morning of his disappearance.
Okay.
And he just said he was going out for a bit.
Okay.
And then his car was found with the keys still in the ignition.
So, come on.
Does that sound like someone who was about to embark on a meticulously planned peeping Tom escapade?
No, not unless he was like the most nonchalant voyeur in history.
Right.
I'm guessing, though, there's more to the story than just a poorly constructed alibi.
Oh, there's so much more.
Okay, give it to me.
Let's talk about the missing shoe.
Okay.
The missing shoe.
One of S's shoes was found near the septic tank opening, but the other one was discovered, wait for it, on a distant riverbank.
Okay, now somebody was definitely having fun with this crime scene. It's like they were trying to just, make a point about how ridiculous the whole thing was.
Or maybe they were leaving a trail of breadcrumbs,
Oh, okay.
hoping that someone would notice how absurd it was and start asking the right questions.
Or they got their wish because over 4,000 villagers signed a petition demanding that the police reopen the case.
Wow, 4,000.
I know.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, they weren't buying the Peeping Tom story either. And that's where things start to get even more interesting, right? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Remember, this all happened during a period of national mourning for the late emperor.
Right.
It was a very sensitive time in Japan.
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine that someone would choose that particular moment to engage in, risky or scandalous behavior.
Talk about bad timing.
Yeah.
It's almost like someone knew that everyone would be distracted.
Right.
And this would be like the perfect opportunity to just, let's say, arrange a situation.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does make you wonder if someone was playing a very dark game here. Host, speaker.
Right.
And this is where the context of Fukushima itself becomes really intriguing, right? Because this isn't just some random village.
Right. Right.
It's a place with a complex history, strong opinions, and especially when it comes to the nuclear power plant, high stakes.
Exactly. And you know what else was happening around the time of S's untimely demise?
What's that?
A village mayoral election.
Yeah. Oh, of course. A mayoral election. It's like we're in a small town political thriller, complete with, suspicious deaths and potential cover-ups. So was S involved in all this political drama?
Oh, he was right in the thick of it. He was actively campaigning for one of the candidates.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And you can imagine the tension, right? All the rumors, the whispers.
Oh, for sure.
And then suddenly one of the most vocal participants in this election turns up dead in a septic tank.
Okay, I'm sensing a pattern here. Every time I think this story can't get any weirder, it throws another curveball at us. But let's connect the dots.
Yeah.
Fukushima, the nuclear power plant, a mayoral election, a suspicious death. It all seems a bit too convenient, don't you think?
Well, the source material that we're working with suggests that the village was pretty divided when it came to the nuclear power plant.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Some residents, they saw it as this source of jobs and economic stability,
Right.
but others were deeply concerned about the safety and, potential environmental risks.
Okay, so we have a community that's on edge, a contentious election, and a young man who maybe knew a little bit too much about someone's dirty laundry. This is starting to sound like an episode of Twin Peaks, set in rural Japan.
And just like in Twin Peaks, there are secrets lurking beneath the surface. Now, remember the school teacher, right? The one S was supposedly trying to peep on.
Yeah.
Well before her death, she had been dealing with harassing phone calls.
Wait, hold on. So we have a peeping Tom who was also helping the supposed target of his peeping deal with a harasser.
Yeah.
This script is getting more and more convoluted by the minute.
It does seem like someone was trying to, create a very confusing narrative.
Right.
And here's the kicker. S confided in a friend that he was very close to identifying the culprit behind those harassing calls.
Oh, now that's interesting. So not only do we have a suspicious death, but we also have a potential motive, a possible stalker-turned-killer, and a victim who may have been silenced just as he was getting close to exposing someone.
It's almost as if someone was reading from a How to Frame Someone for a Bizarre Death handbook. But here's a question for you. If S was already helping the teacher and her boyfriend with this whole harassment issue, why would he suddenly decide to peep on her? Especially when he knew that she was out of town.
Unless he never intended to peep on her at all. Maybe he was lured to the teacher's house under false pretenses, knowing that the empty house and the conveniently located septic tank would make the perfect, let's just say, accident scene.
That's a very intriguing theory. And it does align with the overall sense of, staged absurdity that we've been picking up on.
Right. It's like someone was trying to make the whole thing look so ridiculous that no one would actually take it seriously.
And they almost succeeded.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the peeping Tom narrative, the septic tank, the missing shoe on the riverbank, it's also outlandish that it's almost tempting to just dismiss it as a bizarre fluke.
But that's the danger of these kinds of narratives, isn't it?
Yeah.
They prey on our tendency to just, look for the simplest explanation to accept the official story, even when it defies logic and common sense.
It's like a magic trick, a misdirection to get us to look away from the real story, the one that's hidden in plain sight.
And that's why we're here, right? To shine a light on those inconsistencies, to challenge the official narrative, and to ask the questions that others might be afraid to ask.
So let's recap where we are. We have a suspicious death, a flimsy official explanation, some potential political motives, a possible stalker-turned-killer, and evidence that might have been planted to mislead investigators.
It's a tangled web of intrigue, and we're just getting started.
Okay, but here's where things get even more meta.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're not just dealing with the mystery of S's death, right?
Right.
We're dealing with the mystery of how this story is being told.
Right.
And remember, everything we know about this case comes from one specific source.
Right.
It's a transcript.
Transcript of conversation.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of an onion here.
Yeah.
And each layer just reveals, another level of intrigue. Right. And what's fascinating is that the source material itself seems aware of its own role in, shaping the narrative.
Absolutely.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the two people in this transcript, right? They seem to be recording themselves as they're discussing the case.
Okay.
So they're aware that, someone might be listening.
Right.
And it's almost like they're inviting us to join their investigation.
So it's like we're eavesdropping on a private conversation.
Exactly.
Like a secret meeting of the minds trying to make sense of this whole thing. Do we know anything about these mystery commentators?
Mm-hmm.
Are they journalists? Are they amateur sleuths? What's the deal?
Well, the transcript doesn't actually say anything about, their identities or their professions.
Oh, right.
Which, just adds to the mystery.
Yeah, for sure.
But their tone, their choice of words, the way they analyze the evidence, it all kind of suggests that they're not just casual observers.
They're invested in this case.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They mention, the impact of the Fukushima nuclear disaster.
Right, yeah.
Which suggests that they might have a connection to the region.
Right.
Or maybe a broader interest in the social and political, implications of nuclear energy.
That would make sense. They're not just dissecting a bizarre crime. They're examining how that crime it intersects with these larger issues of power and corruption and the dangers of unchecked authority.
Exactly. And let's not forget their fascination with the physical details of the case.
Right.
They spend a lot of time analyzing the septic tank, the pipes, the logistics of how Sess could even fit inside.
Right. It's like they're challenging the official narrative on a very practical level.
Absolutely. Like they're saying, okay, we've heard your story, but let's see if it actually holds water, or in this case, sewage.
They're skeptical, detail-oriented, and maybe just a little bit morbidly curious. Do you think?
Oh, absolutely. They're like us,
Yeah.
driven by this desire to understand, to unravel the truth, even when that truth is buried, under these layers of misinformation and deception.
But here's the thing. They don't offer any definitive answers.
That's right.
They present the facts, they analyze the theories, and then they just kind of leave it up to us to draw our own conclusions.
Which, in a way, is the most powerful form of storytelling.
I think so, too.
It invites us to participate, to
Right.
become active investigators instead of just passive recipients of information.
So as we reach the end of this deep dive, we're left with the same question that those villagers were grappling with back in 1989. What really happened to S?
Was it a bizarre accident, like the authorities want us to believe?
Right.
Or was it a carefully orchestrated, act of deception designed to silence a young man who knew too much?
We may never know the full story, but one thing is clear. There's more to this case than meets the eye. Sometimes the most unsettling mysteries are the ones that leave us with more questions than answers.
So, dear listener, we leave you with a final provocative thought.
Okay, I like it.
What if the truth is even stranger, even more absurd than anything we've imagined it?